Hello Canada, welcome back to another edition of the Canadian Citizen Journal. I'm your host, alias Tagai. Lots going on in the news cycle. Trump had an interview with Meet the Press. I'm going to show you what mainstream is not showing you about that interview and how he keeps bringing up the auto industry, which is one of the main reasons why there was a lot of outside influence, especially through Trump, trying to get the Liberals reelected. He wants us weak. He wants us to put in these green religious ideas because it's only going to benefit the United States. A guy went crazy with an excavator in Bonneville. I guess it was his bucket list at a police station. Western Standard has a great write-up on this. We're going to deal with Carney's wife having a book published before Carney was even elected, where she claims to be Canada's first lady. Now, that tells you right there these people aren't Canadian because we don't have first ladies in Canada. So, the guy isn't Canadian. 3 passports. I mean, they tore Scheer apart for having 2. This guy's got 3 that we know of. We're also going to play some of an interview that Juno had with Keith Wilson. And he's going to kind of break down the legalities. And I'm still working on a larger portion. There's a lot of legislation that's happened in the last 4 or 5 years in Saskatchewan. And, of course, Alberta as well. But secession isn't going to happen in a day. And through the process of just good leaders trying to give democracy back to the people, they're making it easier for us either to become more like Quebec or give the option to its citizens to remove itself from Canada completely, which a lot of people are on board with. So like I said, I'm going to deal with that in a future episode, but we'll let Keith Wilson just kind of break down the logistics of it. Let's start off with this backhoe excavator in Bonneville. Bucket list. Man goes on crazed rampage in stolen backhoe and Bonneville RCMP detachment. He must have been having a very bad day, an extremely bad day. On Saturday night, about 6:55 p.m., a man drove a stolen backhoe into the parking lot of a Bonneville RCMP, and then his fun was just beginning. The suspect dumped several boulders in front of the prisoner bay and then proceeded to damage 5 police vehicles, which were parked in the lot, said Corporal Juno Slaney. The suspect then fled on foot. Bonneville RCMP Dog Services and the RPS drones searched for the suspect, and he was quickly located in a tree line just west of the detachment, said Slaney. He was arrested and is currently in custody pending a judicial interim release hearing. The suspect cannot be named at this point as charges have not been sworn before the courts. If any of you out there have any footage on this, please email it to me, CanadianCitizenJournal@gmail.com. I'd love to have it. I've been searching. I found nothing so far, but it looks really interesting. Some people. Now, we're going to get on to this Trump interview. I'm going to break out a few pieces that are crucial because I do believe, in fact, I know, Trump wants Canada weak. Now, everybody kind of knows that. But there's main reasons why he wanted the Liberals in power. Not only would the Conservatives make us strong, which they would have, and they would have given us more democracy, equality amongst everybody instead of favoritism, but with the green agenda, this zealot religion, not like just craziness, they're imposing major sanctions and tariffs on their own people. They are forcing an ideology completely undemocratic on its citizens, which benefits the U.S. of A. Trump knows this. This is why he wanted Carney elected. And one of the major proponents, one of the major voting demographics he's going after so that he can keep the Republicans in power, plus really help the United States is through the auto sector. Now, if you are a new subscriber or a previous subscriber and haven't seen some of the previous episodes, I urge you to dive deep. Go through a lot of my videos. In fact, I prefer you go through them all. But there's lots down there where not only do I break stories, but I expose Carney and these green zealots on how, with their green policies, especially the attack on fossil fuels, is a domino effect. And the major industry that's going to be sacrificed is the auto sector. So for all of you who know auto sector workers or maybe are part of the auto sector, I'm going to break a little bit more down here on this show. But I urge you to watch the previous episodes, because not only did Dougie really screw you guys, especially with your electricity exports, he, by not backing the conservatives, well, he's a liberal, so he helped to sign all of your jobs away. And if you elected this liberal party, you just destroyed your industry. It's gone. It'll be gone. And Carney wants to set the zero combustion engines earlier than 2035. He's pushing for like 2030. And I'm going to let you hear it right from his mouth. So let's get started on this interview with President Trump.
Tariffs, and some could be forced to shut down.
And many businesses are being helped.
Are you considering tariff relief for small businesses?
Why do you always mention that, you pick up a couple of little businesses? What about the car business? They're going to make a fortune because of the tariffs. Do you know that the union, the head of the union, who was no fan of mine, Sean Fain, I guess his name is, right? He didn't endorse me. The Teamsters did. A lot of people did. A lot of unions did. But he didn't. He couldn't stand me. Now he's saying, wow, what's Trump's done for the automobile? I can't believe it. I assume he's going to probably now say, the next thing he can say is, I endorse this guy. He's the greatest I've ever seen. He can't believe it's happened. He said, we've been waiting 40 years for somebody to do what Trump is doing. So why don't you mention the big car industry instead of mentioning somebody that's doing strollers?
Well, I'm just asking about...
So she's really she attacks some loss through this interview, but Trump is Trump. I mean, he talks about what he wants to talk about. I want you guys to listen carefully to Carney himself and listen, break his words down and understand. This is what the Liberal Party wants. This is why he was appointed. And this is why he was the puppet master of Trudeau.
And I guess that's the last point. And this is when I still talk to my old colleagues, some of whom have turned over, but on the policymaker side, the finance ministers, the leaders, I make this point that, look, you can go a long way by having a credible track record. You don't have to take the carbon price to $100 a ton overnight. But if you're layering in a gradual increase, if you have it legislated as
if you have it legislated, he helped push all this green agenda. He's the one who's been guiding the government, our liberal government, and put us in huge debt, backing all of these EV businesses that are going tits up in a handbasket. They don't work in Canada. They won't work in Canada.
We're going to have in Canada, for example, to 170. If you're building a track record in terms of, let's say, the auto sector, like the Europeans and Germans and others saying, okay, no new internal combustion engine vehicles by 2030 and supportive policies around that. Well, hey, surprise, surprise, the market will pull forward the future. We'll start adjusting now. And then by the time you get to the future, the adjustment is quite straightforward. And so those are all the mechanisms you use. Last point, I do find, you with your clients, that those businesses who where senior management thinks about the big strategic drivers, thinks a little farther, thinks about how it could affect their business, they tend to be first movers, they tend to be more aligned, they tend to be more robust, and ultimately they tend to create more value over time. So, as an investor or lender, you're also looking for that.
Now, you pretty much said it right there. He doesn't give they don't care about Canadians. They don't care about citizens around the world. This is all an opportunity for these mega rich, heavy investor who, again, are in the Senate. They're going to be called upon, and this is a protective seat for him now that he's prime minister. They only care about making money. They don't care about your auto job. He just said it right there. If he cared, he sure in heck wouldn't be talking like this. You elected a man who his number one job is to remove the auto sector. And then, of course, people out there, oh, Elias, they're going to make EVs. Tell me how those EV plants doing in Canada. They don't work and they won't work. The technology is not there, nor is the infrastructure. And even if we got the infrastructure in place, what is going to power it if he has banned any fossil fuel from being produced? All of this is done for them to make money. They make money by A, automation, B, low wages. They own all of the green credit system. They're forcing companies into it. And now that this man has been elected, this piece of crap has been elected, look out. I'm going to go another clip here, and then I'm going to show you where your auto sector is going to be really soon. Let us have it, Trump.
Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And let me tell you the other thing, very importantly, automobile companies, plant after plant after plant, Toyota, Honda, Ford, General Motors, Stellantis. I mean, nobody's ever seen anything like it. And I don't like this, but it happens to be. They're stopping work in Mexico and they're stopping work in Canada, and they're all moving here.
This is important, though. You're not taking the possibility that these tariffs could be permanent off the table. Some of them.
Oh, I wouldn't do that, because if somebody thought they were going to come off the table, why would they build in the United States?
Let me ask you
You
about,
understand that, right?
Yeah, but that's why I'm asking, because there's a lot of, I think, uncertainty for CEOs, for business owners. They want to know, are these tariffs permanent?
I think there's only uncertainty in the fake news. I don't think there's uncertainty. I mean, I've been very rigid, very strong on it, but I will say I'm flexible. Like with respect to parts made outside of the country, I gave the automobile companies a little extra time. You know, you're talking about 15% and then 10% of the parts put in a car. I gave them a little extra time without penalizing them. And I did that only to help, companies. We're looking to help companies. We want them to thrive and to hire a lot of people. And that's what's happening.
Let me ask you about.
Now, here you go, Ontario. This is your very near future.
This is arguably one of the most automated car factories in China, or even on this planet. We got a chance to go deep inside.
欢迎来参观未来第二先进制造工厂。
Walking through this corridor, we immediately got to our first stop, the paint shop. The core of the workshop is the giant vehicle storage system, what they call the cube. I prefer to call it a giant claw machine. Anyway, the 6-story vertical garage can stock 246 vehicle bodies, with 2 elevator handles helping to store and retrieve. This buffering process helps avoid constantly changing the spray gun. This lifts the overall production efficiency.
我们现在整个 OTD 从订单客户下订单。
Shop. In here, over 700 robotic machines are doing their jobs in an orderly fashion. But the leading technology here is what goes behind the fully automated door installation. The robotic machines are able to tightly and smoothly install the 4 doors to all of NIO's 8 selling models, with a tolerance of plus or minus 0.05 millimeters. It is about the same width as a single strand of your hair. As we were moving to our
So their order to delivery only takes 21 days. 21 days.
final stop, I unintentionally revealed my lack of knowledge. 小心。
不会，它自己会停下来。
它会停是吧？
对。
These auto-guided vehicles, or AGVs, are everywhere in NIO's plant, especially in the general assembly shop. They transport car parts or even car bodies to their designated locations with no interference from human beings. Of course, the robotic machines are programmed to avoid human workers too. Right here, the assembly line only moves when the workers stand behind this yellow line, and when they go into the yellow line and start to do their work, the assembly line stops thanks to the little sensor right here, and this is to ensure the workers' safety. China has been the world's largest new energy vehicle market for 8 consecutive years. The country has witnessed a dramatic increase in the number of electric cars on its roads, with domestic manufacturers such as NIO gaining prominence.
How many employees do you see in there?
其实我们整个的理念就是能够把我们现在的一些先进的技术展现给同行，大家只有相互交流、相互促进，才能让。
We don't mind showcasing what the manufacturers do or the plant itself. Only through mutual communication and collaboration can we better promote this industry.
让这个行业去更向上的去发展。
China used to rely heavily on foreign car brands and their manufacturer technology, but now almost 80% of the country's new energy vehicle sales come from local brands. And boosted by the growth of new energy vehicle exports, China's total auto export is expected to surpass Japan to become the world's #1 this year. So it is fair to say the Chinese car companies have become extremely competitive. Plus, that last part are not my words, but those of Elon Musk.
They have reduced the amount of employees it takes by over 90%. And now they are building what they call microfactories. These microfactories are built specific to areas. They will drop a little factory, and depending on the market within that area is the size of this microfactory. So you'll either get 1, 2, or 3. So let's say Alberta, they would drop 3 little factories down and be able to produce all of the cars that that province would need. And of course, if it was like Toronto, they would need 40 of these microfactories. These microfactories have reduced human touch by 98%. 98%. They are slowly perfecting these microfactories all around the world, and a lot of the Asian companies are the ones that are and they don't care. They will make a microfactory to make a GM car if that's what it takes. That's what they're doing. They're not married to a certain brand of car. This is outside companies who've seen the money that can be made by reducing paying humans and put robots in. And they know with the boost in technology through AI that the first people that get on this will have completely remote assembly plants. So the way they're building these micro facilities is like a block technology, where any component, as technology, as AI gets better, they can go right in, pick up a certain portion. So let's say it's the painting sector. Pick up that portion, remove it, put another block in. They can do it in 24 hours. They're pre-built, picked up, and shipped to all of these microfactories. This is the EV revolution you voted for, Canada. And it'll be forced down your throats because we've got green zealots that run our country. Well done, Ontario. Well done. This is where Trump dabbles on to Canada. I'll play the whole thing, not just what mainstream wants to show you.
Let's move on to Canada. You have long talked about making Canada the 51st state. There's obviously a new Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, who you spoke to after his victory. He says that you didn't talk to him in that call about making Canada a 51st state.
No, he called me. He was very nice, and I congratulated him. He had a victory. It's a very close victory. It's, there's no majority or anything, so that's going to make things a little bit difficult, I think, for him to run. But he nevertheless had a victory, and he's a very nice man.
Did you catch that? It's going to make it a little difficult for him to run. He wanted a majority, people. He wanted Carney to win with a majority. Because then it guarantees that he puts in all of this carbon insanity, which was driving businesses down to the States. We have lost so many companies, so much investment. This is what America wants. This is what Canada should want. I have no idea why people are voting against their own citizens. Greed. It's greed. It's socialist greed. And mainstream. Mainstream is enemy number one. Need you to like, share, and subscribe. We have to end mainstream media, state-funded media. And I'm hoping and praying that with this whole separatist movement, one of the first pushes everybody does, which would be the brightest first step, is to petition the government to ban any state-funded media. Ban it. That's socialist media. It should be illegal in a democracy. I mean, if our country can ban RT because it's state-funded media from Russia, why are we getting CBC? Why is CTV and Global and all these other companies getting money? And just so happened that they lined it up that the checks started rolling from Google during the election period we had in Canada. Yeah. Huh. Go figure, hey? Craziness.
I think.
Do you plan to talk to him about making Canada a 51st state?
He wants to come and see me. He's going to come this week or next week.
So will you talk to him about making Canada a 51st state, annexing Canada?
I'll always talk about that. You know why? We subsidize Canada to the tune of $200 billion a year. We don't need their cars. In fact, we don't want their cars. We don't need their energy. We don't even want their energy. We have more than they do. We don't want their lumber. We have great lumber. All I have to do is free it up from the environmental lunatics. We don't need anything that they have. We're giving them. I asked Mr. Trudeau, who I call Governor Trudeau, I said, not Prime Minister, Governor. I said, Governor Trudeau, could I ask you one question? Why are we giving you $200 billion? Why are we subsidizing Canada? If Canada was a state, it wouldn't cost us. It would be great. It would be such a great, it would be a cherished state. And if you look at our map, if you look at the geography, I'm a real estate guy at heart. When I look down at that, without that artificial line that was drawn with a ruler many years ago, it was just an artificial line, goes straight across. You don't even realize what a beautiful country it would be. It would be great. But I don't think the American public wants me to pay $200 billion a year to subsidize Canada. Again, remember this.
Yeah.
We don't need their cars. We don't need their lumber. We don't need their energy. We don't need anything. We do very little business with Canada. They do all of their business practically with us. They need us. We don't need them.
You and I talked, and I asked you if you would rule out military force to take Greenland, and you said no, you don't rule out anything. Would you rule out military force to take Canada?
Well, I think we're not going to ever get to that point. It could happen. Something could happen with Greenland. I'll be honest. We need that for national and international security.
But not with
I think
Canada?
It's highly unlikely. I don't see it with Canada. I just don't see it. I have to be honest with you.
Okay, but you don't rule it out for Greenland.
And by the way, Canada, they spend less money on military than practically any nation in the world. They pay NATO less than any nation. They think we're subsidized. They think we are going to protect them. And really, we are. But the truth is, they don't carry their full share, and it's unfair to the United States and our taxpayers.
But you are not ruling out military force to take Greenland.
I don't rule it out. I don't say I'm going to do it, but I don't rule out anything. No, not there. We need that. We need Greenland very badly. Greenland is a very small amount of people, which we'll take care of and we'll cherish them and all of that. But we need that for international security. Do you know, we have Russian boats and we have Chinese boats, gunships all over the place, aircraft carriers, gunships, going up and down the coast of Greenland. We need that to be protected. Internationally, we need it.
So you are willing to send U.S. troops to claim a sovereign territory?
I didn't say that. You asked me a question. Would you? Is there a circumstance? It could happen. I doubt it will, but it certainly could happen with respect to Greenland.
Okay, let me ask you about Iran.
So, our military. What the Trudeau government has done to our military is a complete disgrace. Now, yes, all governments before then have been very weak on this front, and they have been abusing the United States as well as other NATO partners, which has become a growing concern. And it wasn't until Trump actually stood, this is in his first term, and pretty much told everybody, if you don't meet your 2%, you're done. And we won't protect you. And he was specifically talking about Canada. Now, Canada is in a precarious place because he knows we are joined. We're on the same continent. He's going to crush us economically, especially now that we have the Liberals in power. This just made it so... Why even use the military when you can just take it over economically? He's going to bankrupt us. He's already doing it. There's nothing Carney can do to save us with his green zealotry. It's just going to make it worse. Like I said, that's why Trump wanted him elected. It literally fits every single thing that he wants to do. The Liberal Party is the gift that keeps on giving to the United States. And even the Democratic part of the government knows this. They know this. As for our military, we are the laughingstock of the world. There are more registered gun owners. If you were to take all the registered gun owners today and say, we're going to give you military status, it would be like 9 times the standing army we have that's actually called Canadian military. And the kicker to it is our military doesn't even have the gear to go to war. It's not there. Let's just break it down. Canada's military is collapsing. Without urgent action, we won't be able to defend ourselves. Now, they had a conversation with Lieutenant General Michael Maisonneuve, retired. And what he told me about Canada's military was nothing short of alarming. He didn't mince words. Our armed forces are in dire straits. If we don't act now, Canada will not only be unable to defend itself, but it will cease to be taken seriously by our allies, many of whom are already losing patience with our military's decline. Maisonneuve has also seen firsthand what the functioning military looks like. He has served at the highest levels working alongside our allies in NATO, and he knows exactly what Canada is failing to do. We are no longer at the table when major defense decisions are made, he told me. The Americans don't ask us what we think anymore because they know we can't contribute. That is a stunning indictment of where we now stand. A country that was once respected for its ability to punch above its weight militarily has been reduced to an afterthought. The problem, as Maisonneuve laid out, is both simple and staggering. Canada doesn't take its defense seriously anymore. The government has allowed our forces to wither. The Air Force is still flying CF-18s from the 1980s because the long-delayed F-35 procurement is years behind the schedule. You must remember, we would have fighter jets at 2/3 the cost of what we're paying now, but Trudeau canceled it only to turn around and renegotiate a worse deal. Like, way worse deal. The Navy, once a competent maritime force, is barely functional with no operational submarines and a fleet that is nowhere near what is needed to patrol our vast coastlines. Meanwhile, the Army is struggling to recruit and retain soldiers, leaving its numbers dangerously low. We have an army in name only, Mosnov said. If we were called upon tomorrow to deploy a fully operational combat force, we couldn't do it. Even more shocking is the state of readiness of our troops. A recent report found that 75% of Canadian military personnel are overweight. Masanov didn't even sugarcoat it. It's unacceptable. We are supposed to be training warriors, not watching fitness standards collapse. When the people entrusted with defending our country are struggling with basic physical fitness, it speaks to something much deeper, an institutional rot that has infected the entire system. Our allies have noticed. Canada was locked out of AUKUS, the military alliance between the US and the UK and Australia. It was an oversight, Mosnov explained. It was a deliberate snub. The Americans don't see us as a serious defense partner anymore. That snub should have been a wake-up call. Instead, our government shrugged it off. Meanwhile, Washington is openly questioning Canada's value in NATO. The Americans see the numbers. Canada refuses to meet even the minimum defense spending requirement of 2% of GDP. Instead of fulfilling our obligations, we offer up empty promises and expect others to pick up the slack. Masanov is blunt about what needs to be done. First, we need to fully fund the military, and that means not just hitting the NATO target, but exceeding it. Our allies spend real money on their defense because they understand that security is not just optional. He suggests Canada should aim for at least 2.5% of GDP, not just as a show of commitment, but a necessity to rebuild our capabilities. The biggest issue, though, is manpower. We need to rebuild the forces, period, Masanov told me. That means recruiting, training, and retaining soldiers, and we are failing at all three. He even suggested that Canada should consider implementing a national service requirement, a move that would not only increase troop numbers, but also instill a sense of duty and responsibility in younger generations. We used to be a country that took security seriously, he said. What happened? This is a great article. I urge you to read it in its entirety. Now here is Stats Can. Our Navy, frigates, submarines, Arctic and offshore patrol ships, maritime coastal defense. In use, 46%. That's training and standby. Not serviceable, 54%. Our Air Force, fighters, maritime aviation, search and rescue, tactical aviation and transport. In use, training and standby, 45%. Not serviceable, 55%. Armored fighting vehicles, artillery, combat support vehicles, logistics equipment, combat support vehicles, and logistics equipment. 54% is in use, training, and on standby. 46% not serviceable today. Carrie Buck, a career diplomat and Canada's former ambassador to NATO, said she was shocked but not surprised by the numbers. It means that Canada is falling further down the rank of allies. It means that the gap is growing between our international commitments and our capacity, Buck said. It impacts our credibility at NATO for sure, but it impacts our security interests too. It's in our security interest to be a credible contributor to NATO, she said in the presentation, should set off alarm bells. Again, this is a great article. I post all my links down below in the description. And I always urge everybody, if you want to see it in its entirety, it's always there. I do what a lot of other independents don't do. I give all of the research so you guys can look into it for yourselves. Now, on to this book. This is disgusting. The biography of Diana Carney, From Economist to First Lady of Canada, a story of love, leadership, and global impact. Now, I'm not going to read all of this verbal diarrhea to you. It is all probably AI written. It's crap. The book is getting horrible reviews. The comment section on it is absolutely hilarious. The fact that she said First Lady really says it all. You elected someone who isn't even Canadian. His wife has no idea of Canadian politics. And that is a outright insult to Canada, calling yourself the First Lady of Canada. You are not. You are a nobody. You are a waste. Go back to Britain, please. We do not want you to destroy our nation. Now we have possibly 4 years of her and her husband's completely insane carbon zealotism religion that's going to destroy our nation. I am not going to read this book. There's a few people out there who are like, well, maybe we'll read it. I think it's 50 some pages. 50. It's not even a book. It's a short story. It's a short fictional story. It's crap. What an embarrassment. And now, just wanted to throw this out there. A really good buddy that works at Telesat, who's also part of the entire Brookfield scheme of things, who they're trying to bolster, is going to give Canada satellite technology that doesn't have a single satellite in space, got another $600 billion. Through this agreement, 140 GPPSs of LEO satellite capacity will be dedicated for purchase by internet service providers at a set price per month in support of high-speed internet access in satellite-dependent communities and other eligible communities. This is another complete waste of tax dollars. They are giving it away to their friends who can't even help us. Like I said, they don't have a satellite up there that can help us. Nada. Zero. Zilch. Don't exist. This is money laundering with your tax dollars. $600 million more. Where's mainstream? Crickets. Last but not least, this is Juno News. I urge you, look them up. These people are amazing. I absolutely love everything they do. They have great journalists. They ask serious questions. They're not state funded. These are the people you want to get your news from because you will get it straight. It'll be truthful and it won't be full of any propaganda. Let's take a listen.
So, first of all, I'm fortunate to have known Premier Smith prior to her being Premier. I first met her and worked with her 20-some years ago, maybe 27 years ago, when she was the Executive Director of a Property Rights Institute in Alberta. And I've gotten to know her. And fundamentally, she believes in democracy. And she believes in grassroots democracy in the sense that the people should decide. That she's the leader of the people, but the people should set the direction. So I think that's what you're seeing here with the increasing the tools that citizens have to give direction to their government. In terms of next steps, it's not, the legislation sets out a very rigid and formal process for citizen-initiated petition. And it's not just any piece of paper. It's not just any website. There will be no digital. It's going to have to be actual forms that are obtained from our chief electoral office and sanctioned and approved with a clear question. And specific forms will be issued, and organizations will then go out and try and secure the signature, the address, and the phone number.
Now, like I said on previous episodes, this is what a lot of people have to hear. This is going to take a lot of footwork. The vast majority of those who want to separate are rural areas. They're the ones living real life, suffering real consequences and the persecutions from the federal government. They witness it in real time. The people in the cities, even though they feel impacts, they don't understand the impacts because they're middlemen. They're in the central part. And most of that area is where, especially if you're in cities, not only are you brainwashed because you're not seeing anything in real time, you're brainwashed because you're being fed state-funded media, propaganda. This is why most cities tend to always lean left, whereas rural communities tend to always vote conservative. They are firsthand, they see it, everything that happens, like the Chinese tariffs that are going on right now. Zero in the mainstream, nobody's talking about it because they want Carney elected. Those tariffs are affecting a larger proportionate index of dollars and people than the auto sector by like 10, if not more. Nothing in the media. Who is suffering from it? Rural communities. The fishermen on the east and west coast, the farmers in the prairie provinces, not the cities. They won't see or feel the impact for a few years. And then by then it's very easy for propaganda media to say, well, it's the Trump problem. Like a lot of people believe today that the cost of living, the cost of houses, the lack of jobs, the 8% growth. I think we maxed out at just shy of 2% over the last 2 years of GDP growth. That's happened because of 10 years, because it's been 10 years, not because of Trump, because of the Liberal Party. This is why most of the cities voted red. You need to help destroy mainstream. You need to petition the government, first thing, to ban state-funded media. This has to happen quick. I'm talking lickety-split quick, because they are going to legislate that CBC be our main state broadcaster. They're going to try to increase the amount of airtime that they get. They're going to promote it with your tax dollars. We need to remove this. If you want your separatist movement to succeed, you have to get to the cities. The cities have to see the reality of the federal government. They need to see what the NDP and the Liberals, provincially and federally, are actually about and what they're trying to do. They're trying to fulfill their socialist ideology. And the new Liberal Party is a fascist party. I prove it all in previous episodes, especially the attack on religion.
And the name of the individual and get the sufficient number. I think that process is going to start fairly soon. And I'm optimistic that that number will be achieved. And then what will happen is if we do surpass the 177,000 mark, then the government will be obligated to schedule and hold a referendum. We do have municipal elections previously scheduled that are going to occur in October of this year. As to whether the timing would line up to hold the provincial referendum on separation at that time, I don't know. Too early to tell. And then on top, so that would then.
Wow. That's coming up fast. And so would it just be a simple majority, like 50 plus 1? Or
yeah, so how that works, Candace, is under the Supreme Court of Canada ruling codified in the Federal Clarity Act, is that the referendum, so let's just say for argument's sake that things do move that quickly, and there is a provincial referendum on separation in Alberta in October in conjunction with our municipal elections, province-wide. What would then happen is if that passed in the affirmative with a clear majority of Albertans on a clear question, then it triggers a positive legal duty on the federal government, the provincial governments, and First Nations to enter into negotiations with Alberta as to the terms of Alberta leaving Confederation. No one can sit it out. No one has a veto. They can't just say, well, I'm not coming. The First Nations can't say, no way, we're not interested. They have to participate. That's what the law is in Canada, as confirmed by the Supreme Court of Canada. And the details will be worked on. It may be for the First Nations that they decide they want to keep their lands federal, and there'll be these little enclaves and continue to be ruled and administered by Ottawa. But that hasn't worked out so well for them either, for many of them. They may want to be, and Alberta could step into the shoes in the treaties and honor them, or they may want to negotiate a whole new relationship. That would all be on the table. And part of that agreement would include each province agreeing to amend, to pass a resolution in their legislature confirming the terms of separation and succession, which would then meet the requirements for amending the Constitution. That is a step. But then we got the wild card, Donald J. Trump, real estate mogul, likes to acquire things. Alberta has the third largest reserves of oil and gas. We have most of our cattle that's produced all goes to the United States. A lot of agricultural products go to the United States. We have a north-south trade, not an east-west trade, in terms of our economy. He could be stepping in at various times as he tends to, and he may make some kind of offer that will completely change the dynamic of the sentiment in Alberta, as well as the negotiations with the rest of Canada.
Wow.
I really appreciate the way that he always includes Saskatchewan in this. He's very bright. He also knows that there are more people in Saskatchewan per capita that want to separate than in Alberta. And Alberta likes to be like, oh, believe it or not, Saskatchewan could even go on its own. They have the economy to do it. They have the resources to do it. Not only are they the breadbasket of Canada, the natural resources they have, from potash, oil, gas, they cover a very broad economic spectrum that deals with they're not stuck to only being having to deal with the United States. A lot of what they have can be exported easily. They're not married to a pipeline, although the resources, the oil and gas sector would be. Their grains, there's so much more to Saskatchewan that we've already diversified that can be railed out, that already is being railed out. And a lot of it stays within Canada. So the ability to cut off not just one resource, not just the oil and gas from Canada, but the actual breadbasket and the fertilizer could crush Canada's economy. There is a lot, like I said, of power that Saskatchewan, thanks to mainstream, isn't aware of. And now, the footwork needed, this is going to be a huge thing. Whoever decides to, and again, it's going to have to, people need to be centralized and not allow themselves to be divvied up. This is where the APP has done very well. They're not aligned with any political party, the Independence Party, the Republican Party, although a lot of those people are part of and talk to APP. APP's agenda is strictly to make sure that they have a central place where all of the people who want to separate can come together to ensure they have the numbers to move forward to make the process happen. From there, it's up to the people to do their parties, to do their voting, whatever. If you want to split your vote, then that's what it is. Saskatchewan hasn't got that yet. But looking at the numbers, there are a lot of different groups that are representing that. Now, it's just a matter of making sure that each group keeps each other involved so that all of their numbers coalesce as one. This makes the movement very powerful, especially when it comes time, which it already is, where people need to be producing pamphlets and walking and hanging pamphlets up. They need to be showing the positive and the negative. They can start with the Senate, the complete misrepresentation that the West has in the Senate. I mean, when you got people who live on the East Coast that have 55% more representation than Saskatchewan and Alberta does, that's an awakening a lot of people in the prairies don't know about. And there's 1,000 more. So it's just a matter of making up pamphlets and getting the teams together to do the footwork to get it out and get people involved and and awakened. They need to see this. Mainstream isn't going to help you. Trust me, they don't want this. This goes completely against their socialist ideology and the fact that they love that free taxpayer money. That's why I say one of the first things that needs to be put into a petition is the banning of any state-funded propaganda. You do this, you have removed the largest hurdle to getting truth and fact to the people, to the citizens. And then from there, it's a lot easier because you will have independent media outlets getting a lot more attention, a lot more people looking for news, and you get locals. You don't get Ottawa feeding Saskatchewan and Alberta and Manitoba the news. You eliminate that. Gone. Now you have the ideology, that unique identity of what it is to be a Saskatchewanite or an Albertan, or a Manitoban for that matter, front and center to discuss and divulge the truth of everything out there. Propaganda is the major power between the people and a fascist government, or a socialist government, or a communistic government. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope I gave you a pile of information and the truth, just the facts. Until next time, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. If you are, punch that notification bell so you don't miss any future episodes. You've been watching the Canadian Citizen Journal. I'm your host, Alias the Guy. Stay informed.